I'm Caden Love.
And I'm Sima Love, his wife.
And we are Love and Lore, taking dark fantasy, light fantasy, and everything in between. And today we just want to talk about some of the recent books that we've read together. We're going to rank them because I think those are really fun. And we're sorry, we haven't been on in a while. We've been going on vacation, and in case you haven't seen, Toothsucker, my recent novel, is now out, and you can go buy it, signed copies on my website, or you can go to Amazon. Appreciate everybody that's read it so far, and the reviews have been so comforting just to know that people are loving it. So, let's put that aside. And so Seema and I chose certain books that we felt like we wanted to read together. A lot of these were done as audiobooks while we were just in the car. Some of them were books that we listened to at separate times, and they're just books that we like to chat together, had our own little book club. And so these are the last 9 books we read together, so let's start with the first in that list, and that is going to be Legion by Brandon Sanderson. This one was interesting. It was a collection of 3 novellas, and it is unconnected to any of his other things. So what do you think?
I thought it was well written and enjoyable, but I definitely did not think it was like, oh, it's a masterpiece, oh, it's gonna be my favorite. It was like, yeah, it was an interesting book to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun. Definitely not a masterpiece, and there are so many other books of his that I liked a lot more, but it was a good one that we did in like a single car ride to and from Las Vegas. So it was fun. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. Okay, and if you haven't seen in our other videos, Seema and I like to do a Halloween book together. We did Dracula one year, and we like doing ones that are not complete straight up horror novels, because that's not much of Seema's thing. And it's not my chosen genre too, but I'll read them every now and then. But we chose Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, which we were told was a werewolf book. And so it was an interesting one. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen our video when we reviewed it, you know that Caden wasn't a huge fan, while I feel like I got it. And I feel like the value of this book for me was in the unique storytelling style, which, like I said, I got it and I vibed with it, but I don't think Caden really did.
Yeah, it was a series of vignettes, so it is about, it is a modern day teenage boy, family of werewolves. I do enjoy slice of life occasionally, like Haruki Murakami is one of the authors that can really do it for me. But slice of life isn't always my favorite. I'm much more of a plot-driven reader. And what I struggled with, it just didn't seem like there was much of a purpose. A lot of missed opportunities. I feel like there were so many more things that we could have gotten into. Though it wasn't bad. I definitely want to read more of this author's works. There's a lot that I've heard are really good. But yeah, it just kind of missed the mark for me. I loved when he would go into the werewolf lore and the kind of putting werewolves in a modern day setting, the things that they have to worry about. I thought that was great, but just wasn't a fan of the story delivery being just chopped up little short stories that didn't have the greatest connection between each other. So I feel like definitely the one liked.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Well, you'll start to see that I'm not really picky with books. But for some reason, a lot of the books we read together, I feel like I'm kind of a bummer on a lot of these.
Yeah, a lot of books that are coming up here were the ones that I liked, but Caden didn't care for. For example, The Narrow Road Between Desires. I was in love with that book. I think maybe I just like the way Patrick Rothfuss writes. Mm-hmm. I was absolutely in love with these little cute stories that happened to the main character, and the way they were described, and the way it felt very summary, and I loved that one, but Caden, I remember you didn't care for it.
Yeah, I mean, just to preface, I love the Kingkiller Chronicle. I think that they are some of the greatest fantasy books today. Definitely enjoy them despite the disappointment of not having Doors of Stone, which I guess is kind of where some of my resentment comes from. To start off, this is the second novella that he wrote for this series. The Slow Regard of Silent Things was actually a rare DNF for me. Ari is an interesting character, but like the book was literally her picking up things and setting them down. There was no purpose to it to me, and I just didn't enjoy it. Honestly, felt like a writing practice in prose. And I did like The Narrow Road Between Desires more, but it honestly felt like there was no purpose to it. We focus on a character and get a day in his life, and that's about it. It was a missed opportunity for me, and if I want to be that angry fan of King Killer, it felt like an excuse to go away from Doors of Stone, which I know I'll probably love when it comes out, but this one just, no point to it. I think Seema's more of a character-driven reader. The character was definitely there. I admire that, but the plot was not there. It was non-existent. It was literally a day in his life. Didn't do it for me, especially comparing it to Name of the Wind, Wise Man's Fear. It was very lackluster for me. But I do understand why certain people like it, so I won't get on them for that. One liked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darker Shade of Magic, the next book that we also made a video for, like a general review, and again, Kaden didn't like it, and I thought it was great. The first book in the trilogy, I really liked. The second two were okay, but once again, I just love the vibes of books, and this book had a really cool, magical London kind of vibe that I just loved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so people that haven't read this, it seems kind of like a Victorian setting. There are 4 different Londons, with varying degrees of magic. One's like a complete wasteland, one is very magical, one is more reserved. So I like the premise, but Kel, the main character, I didn't care for too much. The female protagonist that comes in, I felt like she was super selfish, didn't like her. But I do admire V.E. Schwab's writing, and you'll see that kind of when we get later into this video. It was a little spoiled for me because I went and looked at some authors' reviews to see what they said beforehand, so maybe I had a bit of a bias. But I did see that people said it used a MacGyver device, meaning the whole plot centered around getting this object, which it really did. So, cool world. There were some interesting characters, but I just wasn't really invested in the story too much. Just didn't really do it for me. Seema went and read the other books. I didn't really care to, and hearing that she liked the first one the most, didn't care to get to the others. But kind of like Stephen Graham Jones, that does nothing to me for how I see the author. Definitely gave V.E. Schwab another chance and will continue to do so because I think she is very talented. So, one liked, indifferent.
One liked, I think.
Okay. All right, The Sword of Kaigen. We didn't do a video on this one.
We didn't. We should have.
And this one is one that it's really easy to find reviews because, just to give a little preface, this is actually an independently published book, which is pretty cool because this book has overrun TikTok. It's gone everywhere, and it got a lot of its fame because of the SPFBO, which is a big indie book competition run by Mark Lawrence, and you have a bunch of judges go and eliminate books until they choose a winner. So this was a winner a couple of years ago, and we got to it a little late, I think, because it's still a big hype book, but now a lot of people are really focused on Blood Over Bright Haven, her most recent release, which we both, I think, want to read too. Mm-hmm. So, thoughts on Sword of Kaigen?
Well, I don't know about Kaden. Probably he also thought it was a masterpiece, but I thought it was a masterpiece. The emotional and moral depth of this fantasy book that gives off the Last Airbender vibes, like, it just did it for me because the Asian setting was super enjoyable. The magic system, the emotional and moral depth, like I said, I think it was perfect.
It was very, very good. And I think I expected a lot going into it because people said it was, a masterpiece. There are so many people, this was their best book of the year for the past few years. So people that should read this if you like Avatar and want a world about waterbenders, or if you like Ken Liu's Dandelion Dynasty, it reminded me a lot of those. And even though it is set in a modern day, maybe a near future Asia, it definitely has a good fantasy feel. Like, we follow a family that sticks true to the swords, katanas, and things like that. And it follows 2 points of view, Misaki and her son. And Misaki was an amazing character, one of my favorites last year. And to see her character growth and all the difficulty she goes through, I think definitely the shining star of this story. My only complaints were, I do understand that this comes from the Theonite series, which this is her only book that's really taken off from that. and I know you don't need to know anything about the other ones, but I felt like there was a lot of world building and a lot of history dumping that might have been better to know if I knew more about this world she created. But it was so well done. This is one that I won't spoil for people. It causes a lot of emotional reactions from people, will say. And we read it on audiobook. This is one I almost wish I read alone quickly to really get the emotional depth, because during those really hard-hitting scenes, it was like we were pulling into a parking lot and we're like, wow, I didn't expect that. Did that really just happen? I highly recommend it. There's a reason that so many people love this book. Both of us.
I agree.
Is a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so the next one is actually a novella, short story. It's about 50 pages. We love Severance, and it's just such a fun show. So we read something called the Lexington Letter, which is almost a series of emails in an ebook form that is something that takes place before the TV show. And it adds some interesting lore to the world.
I agree about the adding of the lore. I think that was valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I think we read it when we were in the middle of the second season, and reading this Lexington Letter kind of gave you some theories of what Human is about. But then when we watched the rest of the second season and these theories weren't confirmed, but rather even proven like it was something completely else, kind of threw me off. And in this sense, it kind of lost its value. So I think the only reason why I liked Lexington Letter was because I was riding that Severance high when we were reading it. So I would say now that time has passed and we've seen the end of second season, I'm kind of indifferent to it.
I agree. I would say, like, if you haven't seen Severance, definitely there's no point in reading it. If you really like Severance, definitely go and read it. It's a fun little read. As far as a literature masterpiece, it's far from it. But it was an enjoyable little excerpt. One of the more recent reads was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
You know, I did like it. When we were reading it, I thought it was enjoyable, and I'm gonna sound so dumb when I say this, but I liked it because it gave me Twilight vibes. It's like, you know, these beautiful immortal people that are so sexy and go through these, like, immortality hardships. Of course, it was a little deeper than Twilight, but to me, it was kind of on the same level. So now that time has passed, even though I still like it, I would say I'm kind of indifferent to it in general.
And see, I would say probably put it in the one liked thing. I liked it more than Darker Shade of Magic, and I was expecting this big, deep masterpiece, because that's what a lot of people said. Like, it really worked with them. But it just kind of missed for me. It is a romance. And I liked how it ended. And without giving any spoilers, we do get two character perspectives and both of their backstories at points. One of them I liked a lot more. Addie's, our main character, to give you the preface of the story, is she makes a deal, a Faustian deal with the devil, essentially, where she ends up living forever, but no one can remember her. She steps outside a room, no one remembers the conversation she just had with them. So I liked her present story, but the backstory just felt really repetitive. And so the book itself was it was mid-tier for me, but V.E. Schwab's prose in this book was magnificent. Beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, the story didn't live up to me as much as I would have hoped. I think probably a lot of romantasy fans would like it. It's an urban setting, so modern, even though we do get a little bit of 1800s France. The prose saved it. The prose was so well done, and when I wasn't as invested in the story, I was really focusing a lot more on just the way she worded things. So well done, which is why you now see why I feel driven to read more of her books. We'll see. They're definitely not at the top of my TBR, but they're ones I will consider because I think that she is very talented in beautiful prose, similar to Patrick Rothfuss.
I think it deserves a bright orange for sure.
Okay. This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Seema and I are both huge fans of C.S. Lewis. On our first date, we actually asked each other what our favorite book is, and we both said Mere Christianity.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So as an author, outside of fiction, C.S. Lewis might be my favorite. I love that man as a writer. Narnia is amazing. I think Narnia is better as an adult when you understand and grasp what he was going for. And it's very biblical. So, I definitely have a bias looking at that. But I went and looked at some of his other books, and he had a sci-fi series. So we tried Out of the Silent Planet, which was actually written. His buddy Tolkien, they decided that they were going to do a little sci-fi swap, both write a sci-fi book, and Tolkien, I believe, was challenged to do like a time travel one that he never did. But here's the sci-fi one. And so we read it. It was a quick 5-hour audiobook, first in a trilogy. And so what do you think?
I think it definitely has some value for a spiritual/Christian mind to just see things through a new fantasy lens.
Mm-hmm.
As a fantasy book, I can't say I necessarily enjoyed it much.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm kind of indifferent to it,
Mm-hmm.
even though it had some value.
Okay, yeah, I'd say I definitely liked it. The book is one of those, again, that I feel like I'd gain a lot more value reading it than listening to it. It has points where it can be kind of allegorical. There are definitely some themes that he's going for. It is nowhere near as upfront as Narnia is. So Narnia, if you read it and you know the Bible, you know he's talking about the Bible. But this one, there are a lot of deep things there, and even if you aren't a Christian, I think there's a lot to gain there if you're a big sci-fi fan. The main character is a philologist, someone that studies languages, and the way that he uses that, very, very smart. So I would even put this more on the edge of hard sci-fi. Like he uses some difficult science that is really interesting. It was nowhere near what I expected. But yes, it is definitely a book that I think is not for everyone. But if you, it almost reminded me a bit of Adrian Tchaikovsky's take on science fiction, with a little bit more of C.S. Lewis to it, I guess. But yeah, put it at the one I liked it. I do want to finish the trilogy sometime.
Okay, oh, really?
Yeah. I liked it. I can see myself revisiting it in the future. But yeah, it's one that I think requires a lot of attention to really see what the point is.
And the last book we're going to talk about today is The Lord of the Rings, which is something we're reading right now.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you finished it,
I finished it, yeah. Okay. So we're doing the whole trilogy. This is one that we're not listening together in the car. It's like we're doing it separately. I read Fellowship, she read Fellowship. I finished Return of the King last week, and you're on the Two Towers, right?
Mm-hmm. I know that it's probably going to end up in the masterpiece.
I mean, do we really need to hide anything?
Yeah, and I understand people who read it, and they're kind of surprised that they don't like it as much as they thought they would. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of modern fantasy readers don't expect what The Lord of the Rings is going to be. It is definitely not in the same pool as modern fantasy. It's something else. It's something on the line with, fairy tale kind of storytelling, mm-hmm. which I love fairy tale kind of storytelling, so I'm really vibing with it. The constant songs, the way that everyone talks and just seems so honorable, I'm loving it.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Beforehand, I'd only read The Fellowship, but we did it on audiobook with Andy Serkis, which has been so much fun. When you get to Two Towers and have Gollum talking, to have the voice actor, it was so much fun. But yeah, I agree, definitely. I can see how there's people that love the movies but don't like the books because it really goes deep into the history of Middle-earth. There's a lot of explanation, but just the journey of it. There are few books that feel like when you're listening to it, you're on an adventure. And it helped that most of the time while I was listening, I was on my morning runs, and just, to go through Mirkwood to Rivendell and all these places. It is just so enjoyable, and this is one of those that I'm really excited to revisit in the future, and so excited when we have kids eventually to read it with them, and to go back to The Hobbit, and it's like nothing else. It is a true classic in all the sense, and it is a complete masterpiece. So we hope you enjoyed watching this. We had fun ranking these things, and if you have any other ideas for things you'd like to see us rank, throw it in the comments because we'd love to get to it. And we'll hope to give you some more videos of books that we read together because reading together makes such a fun experience.
Mm-hmm. And also, based on our ranking, you can tell that we're gonna love some book. Give us a recommendation in the comments. We're always looking for good books to read together, and thank you for watching.